unless the volume is so great it takes that long to preview it.
Yeah, what do you think, Nick? Why 4 years?
Well, yes, that's the point. Under the Freedom of Information Act, and by the way, that's one of the reasons why the Ministry of Defence have decided to release this. The MOD get more FOI requests on UFOs than any other subject. So the administrative burden of dealing with that has been so big that the government decided it's better to just take all the files and put them in the National Archives so that in future people can be referred there. But of course there are all sorts of exemptions under the Freedom of Information Act. Personal information of witnesses, classified information such as, for example, the capabilities of military radar systems, and some poor desk officer has to go through all this material, and there are tens of thousands of pages of this. I mean, it's an absolutely massive job. So we're going to get maybe half a dozen files every month for the next 3 or 4 years. I mean, I know it's taking a long time, but of course, as you would expect in the Ministry of Defence at the moment, there are all sorts of competing priorities.
Bob Rosamond, has the UFO research, the British UFO Research Association, had many reports over the years about sightings?
We have a substantial archive, actually. We have somewhere in the region of 12 to 15,000 case files going back as far as 1925. So it's quite a substantial amount of documentation, quite possibly
Peter,
more than the ministry itself has.
Peter, why has this been in the United States and prior to this in Great Britain some dark secret? Why won't the United States release anything it knows?
Yeah, a lot of people conjecture on that, Larry, and none of us, even serious-minded UFO investigators, knows the answer to that question. But it is an intriguing question. Of course, Belgium and Chile and France and now England, to a degree the Soviet Union, and now Russia have all, to one degree or another, opened their files on this subject. I would look to the United States government now to do the same, and what I would like to see is somebody senior in the U.S. government, in the military and intelligence communities, say to its people, if you know anything about the UFO phenomenon, you are free to talk to the press and to the American public. Yeah. That would solve the problem in a hurry.
Lieutenant Colonel Chuck Halt, retired from the Air Force, sighted a UFO in 1980, and we'll hear one of his tapes when we come back. We'll hear from Lieutenant Colonel's eyewitness account of a sighting in a moment, but first let's check in with Anderson Cooper. He'll host AC 360 at the top of the hour. Lots happening, huh?
Sure thing. A remarkable and historic day in California. 7 judges ruling that same-sex couples in that state have a constitutional right to be married. The ruling clears the way for same-sex marriage to be legal in California. We'll look tonight at what happens now and what impact it may have on the presidential race. We'll also hear President Bush in Israel not naming names, but clearly suggesting Barack Obama would appease terrorists in the same way some Western leaders appeased Hitler in the run-up to World War II. There was almost instant reaction from Democrats, including Hillary Clinton, universally supporting Obama. We'll hear all of that. And John McCain's plans for his presidency. He laid them out today in great detail. Was it a risky move? Our panel weighs in. All that and more, Larry, at the top of the hour.
Thanks, Anderson Cooper. AC 360, 10 Eastern, 7 Pacific. Colonel Holt, as you know, made an on-the-scene sighting when he was a lieutenant colonel in service in the United States. He made a tape while he was investigating the scene. Let's listen.
There's no doubt about it. There's some type of strange flashing red light ahead. It's yellow. I saw a yellow tinge in it, too. Weird. It appears that he may be moving a little bit this way. It's brighter than it has been. Yellow. It's coming this way. It is definitely coming this way. Now we've got an object about 10 degrees directly south, 10 degrees off the horizon. And the ones to the north are moving. One's moving away from us. It's moving out fast. There's one on the right side away, too. Yeah, we're both heading north.
Colonel Holt, how were you treated by the powers that be after this report was filed?
Well, I was treated with respect, but everybody kept me at arm's length. Nobody wanted to get too close or too deeply involved.
Why?
Well, let's face it, there's a stigma that comes with this. Very few people are willing to speak out and tell the truth. It's just too awkward. You're criticized.
Do you think the British government's actions might lead to some by the United States?
I would certainly hope so, but the situation here is a little different. Keep in mind there are at least a half a dozen or more intelligence agencies that have their own, how shall I say, files, programs, whatever. They share when convenient, they trade when convenient, and they withhold from each other.
Do you look in the sky a lot?
Do I look in the sky a lot?
Yeah,
No.
now. Are you?
No. And I don't belong to any organization or any magazine or whatever.
But you are convinced you saw something that wasn't an airplane.
I definitely saw something that can't be explained.
Nick Pope,
Excuse me.
Nick Pope, give me an example of a report you've seen in Great Britain.
Well, we had, this is a report that's been in the public domain for a while, but just to show the sorts of spectacular cases that we do get, we had a sighting from a commercial airline pilot who saw 2 UFOs, estimated as being almost a mile long, and this thing was actually tracked on radar. There was a primary radar return. Then a few years before that, we had a case with a UFO flying over 2 military bases in England, seen by numerous police and military witnesses. One of the Air Force officers described this thing as a vast triangular-shaped craft moving from a virtual hover to a speed several times that of a fast jet, just in seconds. And this is an Air Force officer with 8 years' experience talking to me.
Well, we have a question from a caller in Mobile, Alabama. Hello.
Hi, Larry.
Hi.
I was wondering if there is any data in the files relating to alien life forms, or is it all the data strictly regarding unidentified flying objects?
Good question. Bob Russelman, in your files, do you have anything relating to alien form?